Hi everyone, this is Nikita, and this is my first YouTube video for Pega knowledge sharing. So basically, what I will do in this series of videos is I will try to make people understand about the basics, the fundamentals of Pega, right? So this is not for the advanced Pega practitioner, but it is for the basic one who are just trying to explore this platform, right? So this is for them. And in this series, my first video is about the property types in Pega, right? So what we will do is we first try to understand how many types of properties are there, and we will go to the Pega platform also and try to create them and understand them through an example. Okay, so let's first understand what are the different type of properties. So what we have is we have a single property, then we have a single page, page list, page group, value list, and value group. I know these are very confusing if you are seeing this for the very first time, or still trying to explore how they work. But when you understand them through an example, it becomes really easy. Okay, so we will do that in this video. So going to the single property, right? So what are those? They are basically the scalar properties, like normal ones. We have name, age, it can be address, but address we will understand how it can be used as a different type of property also. But basically name, age can be called as a single property, right? So let's go to the application and try to create some property, right? So let me go to data model and create a property. Okay, so now let me create property with the name as name, and additional configuration is basically where we see that what is the data type of this particular property. So since it is a name, we'll keep it as text, but there are others which we can use it for creating different properties. So let's keep it as text, and we'll keep our apply to class as our work class. Okay, so this is my work class. Basically, we'll save it in our rule set and then create an open. Okay, so now we see the name and the property rule form. We will save it as we want it to be text only. So this is the single property basically. So now what we'll do is we'll go to the other type of property. Okay, so the next one is a single page property. So what it is basically, what is a page? It's a collection of other properties, right? So it can be of different kind of data type. It's not necessary that whatever properties are there in the page should be of same kind of data type. It can be different. Like if I give you an example of a property named customer, okay? So let it be a customer, which is a single page property. Now, what other attribute can a customer have? And customer can have a first name, can have a last name, it can have a age, then can have email address, and the list goes on, right? So if you see, all these property are different in itself, right? So first name is a text property, age is a integer property. Then these kind of properties can have a different data type. It's not necessary they both will be a text or both will be an integer, no, right? So basically it is a bundle of different properties. So single page property can be called single property plus single property plus single property, and the list goes on, right? So this is basically the single page property. Now what we'll do is we'll try to create the property in our application, then we'll get a better idea, right? So let me create a property. Let it be customer. Okay, saving it in my work. Right, so now the customer type is created. Now what we have to do is to make it as a single page property, we have to go here and do it as a single page. So now the second important part comes. What is a page definition? Okay, so now we have a single page that we understand, and we also know that it can have many attributes. But what we have to do is we have to bundle it in a different class for the easy access and reusability purpose, right? So now when I give it a class which is in data class, what we generally do is we create all these properties or the classes in the data layer so that it is reusable in our work layer, right? So this customer property can be used in multiple places in our work class, right? So let me show you how do we do this. So now I have a data class, right? So this is my data class. Now what I have to do is I have to create a class here. So let me go here, create a class. So as you guessed it, it would be a customer, right? So I'll save it here. So let it be an abstract because I don't want to save anything in my this class basically. So customer property, okay. So now my customer class is created. So you can see it here in my app explorer, right? So I can see the customer class. So I've created the class. Now my next step would be to create the property inside this customer class. So let me start by creating the property. So as I mentioned, what all attribute can a customer have, right? So let me name it as first name. So it is in my apply to class of customer. It's in data layer, but it is a customer class, right? So I have bundled it into customer. So now it's a first name and the property type would be text, right? So the first name is created. I can see it here. If you want to see, can go here and can see that the first name is created now, right? So let me create another property to understand it better. Let it be age. Okay. So when I create age, I'll have to see that what data type it can be, right? So it's very necessary that we understand the data type before creating it in our application. First, we have to jot down what all data modeling is and what all classes we want to create, what all properties it can have, and the data type of those properties. All should be first written down before starting to create those, because the problem is you cannot change the data type of the property on fly, right? So it's not allowed. And if you do that, what it will do is it will create problems in the backend when you do after suppose cases are created for your application and then you want to change the data type of your property, it will create problems. So to make sure that we do not come into those kind of problems, we should understand what this property can contain, their values, right? So now I'm sure the age will be an integer type, that's for sure. So I can keep it as integer. So now my customer class has two property now, age and first name. That's enough for me to understand how this works, right? So now I'm in the work layer. I have created the customer property. And now when I have to give the page definition, what I will do is I will give the definition of my customer class, which I have just created. So now it's a single page and its page definition is customer. So let me save this. It's saved. Now we have to check it, how it looks in my work layer. So this is my work layer. I'll go to my property. So I see there is a customer property. Now expanding it. Okay, I have two properties which I had created in the data layer, right? So I have age and the first name. So whenever you want to have some other property inside this customer class, you will never create it directly in the work layer. You will always go to the data layer and create the properties here inside the customer class. Okay, so this is a best practice. We should always do like this, not the other way around, right? So now we have understood what is page property. Let's go back to our presentation. So we have covered single page. Now our next one is page list. So this is a bit tricky. We should understand what page list is. It is an ordered list of embedded page that is referenced by a numeric subscript. So we understand it's a list of embedded pages, but it's a page. So that's for sure it's a page. A page will contain numerous properties. So a page list will also contain numerous properties. But the page list would be numbered by the subscript, right? So I can have a list of pages with the same name but with different subscript. So let's understand it here. Let me create a property, work layer, right? So let me create a property with name as address list. Okay, so let me name it as address list. It's in the work layer. Now I want it to be page list. Okay, so when it is a page list also, I have to give a page definition. So for page definition, again what I have to do is I have to go to the data layer and create my properties there instead of directly creating it here. So let me go back to my data layer, right? So I'm in the data layer, but again what I have to do is I have to create a class first. Let me create a class. It would be an address, right? Created the class. It would be an abstract. Okay. So it's created, right? So now I have my address class. My next step would be to create the properties inside this address class. So let me start by creating one or two properties. It can be a city. Okay, great, it's created. Let me create another one. Let it be a state. Okay, so now I have city and state, right? So let me see it in my data layer if I can see both of them. Yes, so I'm in the data address layer. I have two properties, city and state. Now this particular class definition I have to give here when I'm creating the address list in my work class. So let me give it here. So it's successfully saved. This is my address list class which is in the work layer. I will go to the work layer to recheck if I can see it correctly. So I'm at the work layer. I can see there is an address list property out there and it contains city and state as I have done it in my data layer. So this works perfectly fine. So our page list is this property. We will also understand that how this is addressed or how do we instantiate these properties. But before that, we will understand all the other properties which are there. Right? So we have a page group property. So in page list, what we have is we have a ordered list, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. But in page group, what we do is we reference it by a string subscript, right? Like we have an address which is permanent, so address of permanent. then we can have address of current, something like that. And then when we try to refer any property inside this page group property, we do so by address of permanent dot state or address of current dot state. So this is how we address them. So for creating the page group property, what we have to do is, it's the same process. We have to go here, we have to create a property. Suppose I name it as address group to understand it more clearly that this is a page group property, right? So address of group. Now when I do it, I name it as page group. So since it is a page group, again it will ask for a page definition, and I already have it. So let me give this. So now I have an address page group also. So this is created. So now my page list is done, my page group is done. The next one is the value list. Value list is nothing, it is a group of elementary elements which is unique index, right? So what was there in page list? Page list itself contained number of properties, right? But value list is something which has only one property. So it is like phone number. When you create a value list with the name as phone number, so phone number of 1, phone number of 2, phone number of 3, so I can assign any value inside this, but of same data type, right? So since I have created the phone number with integer data type, I can use all of them with integer values, right? So this is a value list. I will try to create one value list property. Don't worry, we will demo each of them when we create an activity and try to instantiate them. Okay, so for now we'll try to create the property one by one. So it's a phone number. So what property type it can be? I'll keep it as text for now. You can give any property type. Okay, so but what I have to do is I have to create it as value list. Value list, when you make it as value list, you have an option of what data type it can be. So I'll keep it as text. Okay, so this is created phone number. This is a value list property type. Coming back, what next we have is a value group property. It is similar to value list, it's just that you mention it by string subscript instead of a integer subscript. So now I'll create one property with name as phone number group to understand that it is a value group property. So now I'll make it as value group. It would be text, save. So now all the properties are created here, right? When you go here, you see whatever properties I have created. So basically, I have created all of them, but we need to understand how each of them work when we use it in our activities or data transform. How does it instantiate any of the property? For that, what I will do is I'll create an activity and I'll show it to you how each of them works. In my work context, okay, so I have a property. Now starting with the first one, name, right? We created a name which is a scalar property, Nikita. This is easy to understand, I know, because scalar property is something which we are very familiar with. I'll try to run it, also trace it, so that you understand how it works. So let me see how does it look in tracer. So this is my primary page and I have named it as Nikita, so I can see it name as Nikita. So this is about Now coming back to the other property type, I think I can try page list now. So for page property, first is the page property which we created it as customer. So now customer, right? So customer property we understand, but what else it can have? So I can see there are two properties which I have created, first name and age. So let me first give some value to first name, Nikita. Surely I'm not going to tell you my age. So let me give it as some fictional value, 15. I'm surely not 15, but let me give it like this. I'll run it and also trace it. Okay. So when I see here, my primary page will contain a page of type customer, and you can see the obj class is the customer class, right? The data layer which I had created. The first name I assigned it to Nikita, age 15, right? It's the same. So this is a customer page property. This is how it looks here. Now I will test the page list property, right? So coming here, single property is done, single page property is done. Now coming to page list property, right? So I had created a page list property, remember, address list. So let me use that here. So it is a list, right? So again, you have to give some subscript, integer subscript. So now I have created a city, right? So let me give it as Bangalore, Bengaluru, okay. And then there is a state, it is Karnataka. Now this is only one list, address list. I told you it can have any number of address list, right? So to test that, what I'll do is I'll create one more so that when you see it in the tracer, you understand how it works. So let me give it as 2. The property remains the same. I can give it as Kolkata and the state would be West Bengal. Okay, so let me run this. Okay, that's success. Let me see what it looks like here, tracer. Okay, so as you can see, I have 2 address list, 1 address list 2. The class is the same, but it can have 2 different type of values, right? So this is page list. I hope you understand this particular difference between the page and the page list. So when we saw the page, I could see only customer here. There was no subscript like 1 or 2 because customer is a page and it can have only one set of values. But since it is a page list, address list can have more than one set of values. So 1, 2, 3, so on. So this is my page list. Coming to the page group, right? So my next property type is page group. As I told you earlier, it is an unordered set of page which is referenced by a string subscript, right? So I think I already created a page group which I named it as address group so that you understand the difference. So when I give it as address group, I will have to give some string subscript. So I will give it as permanent. Now my city, again I have to give state, it remains the same, right? So this is permanent. Now I can have any other set of value, right? I can have something called current, isn't it? I can have that. So what I did basically is I created in my own subscript. It's not defined anywhere that this is what you have to mention as the subscript. So instead of current, I could have mentioned anything, right? Something like my, or any string is okay. But to better understand the concept here, I have mentioned it as permanent or current so that we understand that these are different address groups, different set of value, but it is referenced by a string subscript. Okay, so now when I run it, I will see that in my tracer how it looks basically. So as you can see here, my primary page is showing me the different addresses. So as you can see, there is a permanent, there is a current, and different set of values with the same obj class. Okay, so this is the difference between page list and this is page group, permanent, current. Okay, so this is my page group. Now coming to value group and value list. So first is a value list. So how value list differs from page list, as I've told you, in the value list there is only one kind of property, right? It is a group of elementary type element which has a unique index. It has index, it is referred by an index, but it is just one property. Okay, so I have already created one value list, right? Phone number. So let me show you how it looks. I'll give some number. Okay, so I can give any set of value, but I'll give just 2. Okay, I'll run it. Let me see it in my tracer. Okay, so you can see here it is just a property, phone number 1, phone number 2. Okay, it is a single property, but we mention it through a index 1, 2, 3 like that. Okay, so name is same, the property name would be same, but we will mention it or use it through a subscript. Okay, this is value list. So the next property type is value group. It is a single property which has values as unordered set of values, right? So ordered, as you have seen earlier, it's phone number of 1, phone number of 2. There is some order, okay? But when you come to value group, there is no order. So I mention it through a string subscript, which I have done it in page group also, right? So it's similar. Phone work, phone personal, right? So now, okay, I have to use my page group. So this is the value group which I had created. So I have to use that here, right? So let me run it, trace it. Okay, so it has successfully ran. When I go to tracer, I try to see how it looks. Okay, so it looks good. It's phone number group personal, phone number group work with 2 different values, but we call it through different string subscript. right? So these were different property types, okay, which we understood through an example. We ran it through an activity and got a hands-on on it, right? So it can be a scenario that you might face with some problem, how to use this property, which property type it should be. For that, there is a, you have to understand the basic necessity of that property, where it would be used, and how best it can use in your scenario. So that needs practice, I would say. But this is all from my side today. If you have any issues or any problem in understanding any of this property type or any issue in particular, please do comment, and I will surely answer each of them. Till then, bye. I will come again with a new video where I will walk you through different other Pega basics property types or some other topic. And if there is any specific topic you want me to make the video on, please do comment. I would take that request and try to make it as quickly as possible. So with that note, I would like to sign off. Thanks everyone for watching my video. See you again the next video. Till then, bye bye.